My name is Flygon HG, and nobody gets me. Not my mom, not my friends, not one single person in this town, and that's a whole 9 other people. Nobody except for him. He arrived as most miracles do, with no warning. I was scrolling Joel TikTok on my phone, my mom barely audible through a 65-hour-long Nightcore playlist, when suddenly he appeared. Cyrus. He had the voice of an angel and the tongue of a poet. He gave shape to the words in my heart that until then had lacked form. The feeling that this world was flawed, that I was shackled, that bowl cuts were sick as hell no matter what anyone else said. And Cyrus offered a solution to all these problems. A simple way to fix our broken world. By making a new one together. From that moment forward, he became the center of my world, and my only desire was to join Team Galactic and become a part of something bigger than myself. So when Cyrus announced that he'd be doing a fan meetup just 5 minutes from my town, I knew this was my chance to prove that I could be the perfect Team Galactic Grunt and aid him in his journey to create a new world. Visions of my idols dancing in my eyes, I set out with Mars the Glameow and Jupiter the Stunky, standard issue Pokemon for any aspiring Galactic Grunt. I'm just a 30-year-old kid and life is a nightmare, but for the first time ever, I was chasing my dream. I make my way to Lake Verity, unfortunately accompanied by my neighbor Narc. He's not part of the cause, he doesn't get it. He's just an aspiring IRL streamer trying to siphon some of Cyrus's hype for his own purposes. To take advantage of Cyrus's genius for his own selfish desires, it makes me sick. But when I see him, all my annoyance with Narc vanishes in an instant. There he is, in the flesh. I'm so starstruck that I can't even find my words. I'm left silent as he passes, brushing just ever so against my right hand. A fleeting touch that jolts 2 realizations. 1, I'm never washing this hand again. And B, I've just completely bungled my chance for a job interview. But after gazing upon Cyrus's raw, masculine, in-person beauty, I think that's a silver lining, because I'm way underqualified. My resume's weaker than a 3-legged puppy named Mitch. Add to that my lame-ass haircut, and I'll never get hired. I've got to beef up my CV to meet those rigid Team Galactic standards. And here in Sinnoh, there's no more prestigious gig than Victor by Ritual Animal Combat. So my best bet is to roll up to my interview with a belt full of badges. And first up, the gym in Rustboro City. On the way there, I pass through Sandgem Town, where a grumpy Foggy tries to enlist me on some archaic data collection mission. These adults, man, don't they realize that that's all just noise? It doesn't matter. I've got a more important calling now. In Jubilife City, I'm immediately stopped by a man with a strange accent and a trench coat, aka the most obvious Fed I've ever seen in my life. Now, I know Team Galactic's only out for the good of mankind, but I'm also aware of their less than perfect reputation, so I've got to tread lightly until I'm under Team Galactic's protection. This suit, who calls himself Looker, tells me he's searching for suspicious figures. Oh, Looker, you devilish dog. I see your game. He's trying to smoke me out. Self-incrimination. It's the oldest trick in the Popo's dirty book. See, if Looker knows that I'm soon to be a part of Team Galactic, he'd also know that I'd pretend not to be a part of Team Galactic in front of law enforcement. So maybe the move is actually to tell him. After all, he'd never expect me to confess if I was a true member of Team Galactic. However, if he knows that I know that he knows that I'm Team Galactic, then there's actually only one logical conclusion. I have no choice but to maintain my ruse, even knowing that Looker knows it's a farce. This man's a genius, he's trapped me in a classic catch-22. So I tell Looker I'm a totally regular 30-year-old with no affiliation to any organized syndicate, illegal or otherwise, and his response? Oh yeah, I know. Nice try, pig. With our battle of wits concluded, I take a quick detour north to the Ravage Path and pick up our next Galactic-approved Pokemon, and with the visage of my soon-to-be leader still fresh in my mind, I dub him Cyrus. So now it's time to take on Rourke. I may just be a wannabe grunt, but Rourke still uses rock types, and I have a move literally called Rock Smash, so you do the math. Jupiter punches her way through Geodude, aided by a nice defense drop. Rourke's Onix is big and bulky, but ultimately still hits about as hard as an overcooked noodle.
Literally!
So that just leaves Cranidos, who finds himself on the wrong side of another defense drop, letting Jupiter complete her day job of busting boulders at the quarry. She clocks out, collects her paycheck, and I sit down to finally add something to my resume. On our way back through Jubilife City, Looker makes another routine traffic stop to tell me he's oh so sure there's no one shady around. Nice try, this man's playing the fool convincingly enough to impress even the most classically trained actors, but I see right through him. Nevertheless, my eyes soon find a much more appealing subject. That color, that angular edge, my god, their hair. I want to compliment my future coworker's style, but as always, there's an adult who just doesn't get it. He even tells me not to grow up to be like them, but if only I were to be so lucky. Looker's still lurking somewhere in Jubilife's back alleys, so I really have no choice but to keep up my farce and take out the Galactic Grunts. I'm a bit worried that the trouncing I give them is gonna hurt my reputation, but luckily I've got access to Commander Mars's subscribers-only Snapchat tot account, and it's a trivial matter to glean her location from the background of her most recent post. A quick chat with her will clear things up no problem. On the way to Valley Windworks, I catch wind from a child that Team Galactic has dad-napped her father. Big deal, I grew up with no dad and I'm supremely well adjusted. No, at this point, I'm actually far more concerned with a different quality of Team Galactic. These grunts are dumb. No one gives me a chance to explain myself, they just launch right into battle like a soldier on the front lines of the Civil War. I mean, I think maybe I would stand a few rows back, like not all the way in the back, otherwise you wouldn't be able to hear the general stirring battle cry, "Speak up, we can't hear you!" But I'd like to think that I'd have enough self-preservation to know not to be on the front line as we charge towards a bunch of angry Southerners with muskets. Wow, I can't believe you just picked a side in the Civil War. Stay out of politics, maybe? Sorry, who are you? Me? Oh, I'm the worst person in the world. Here's my business card. Yeah, I'm proud to say I'm responsible for roughly 67% of all the posts on X.com. I'm sure you've seen some of my work. You want to see what Sydney Sweeney would look like as Lola Bunny in live-action Space Jam? Hey, Grog. Get out. These Galactic Grunts are bad, but not bad like the bunny, bad like they just suck. Whenever I beat them in battle, they try to blame it on their Pokemon, but guys, if you've got a Stunky and a Glameow, and I've got a Stunky and a Glameow, then maybe one of us needs to take a good long look in the mirror. The call's coming from inside the house, Chief. But my qualms about my coworker's flaws subside the instant I make it to the back of Valley Windworks, because there's a Rhapsody in Crimson that arrests my full attention. I'm so awestruck by Mars's hair that I can barely speak to her, and before I have the time to explain myself, I'm thrust into yet another battle. She, at least, isn't as much of a pushover as her subordinates. Although Cyrus quickly asserts her Vespertilian dominance, Mars's Perugli's bulk demands more subtle tactics. Luckily, Jupiter lands her very first poison gas, and with a well-timed screech to ensure I'm able to snag the KO even after an Oranberry heal, I manage to successfully best one of my idols, though she's obviously holding back, right? And Mars even actually tells me she enjoyed our battle. Maybe I can use her as my letter of recommendation when I officially apply. Before I can explain myself, though, she jets off, leaving me with no choice but to continue my charade. Oh, charades? I love charades! Let me play! Okay, ready? Okay, 6 words. Film? Movie. Video. Okay, money. Make it rain. Golden go? No, what? Talking, speech, sponsorship. Okay, sponsorship. And then, was that an extremely tiny and atrophied bicep? Is that like an F? Oh, the athletic hat. Fabletics! So, this video is sponsored by Fabletics! Fabletics is a lifestyle brand that specializes in activewear, and my favorite thing about their clothing is that I can trust that everything is super comfortable. My go-to is my pair of the One shorts, especially for lounging around at home and being outside with Poppy. And the Cloud Jersey hoodie has also become a staple because of how soft it is. It's almost like being on a cloud. Hey, wait a minute! In April, Fabletics released the Getaway Drop featuring clothing designed for movement, versatility, and everyday wear in clean, neutral colors perfect for warm weather escapes. 60 degrees and windy counts as warm weather in Boston. Fabletics also drops new apparel every month, so if you like what you see here, be sure to sign up to become a VIP using my link in the description down below. VIPs get 50% daily discounts on all products, monthly credits to use on products up to $100, and tons of other perks. The membership is also flexible, so you can skip any month between the 1st and the 5th if you're not interested in using it that month. Plus, new VIPs get 70 to 80% off their first order. Thanks so much to Fabletics for sponsoring this video. Now, let's get back to the challenge. Eterna City promises the chance to not only beef up my resume, but also to potentially visit the Eterna Galactic building, where I'll certainly be able to score a job interview. Along the way, I pass through Eterna Forest, where I can expand my team by catching a Murkrow. Or at least I could if I was playing Diamond or Pearl, but Murkrows aren't in Platinum. Luckily, the Galactic fandom runs deep, and one of my fellow mods on our Galactic groupies happens to run a Murkrow breeding business back in Johto. So after sorting through the necessary exotic animal licenses, Sir joins the team. I walk into Eterna City with the sole goal of taking down Gardenia. So imagine my surprise when I turn the corner and see Cyrus. Once more, he waxes poetic about the governing laws of the universe. And once more, I find myself speechless. I couldn't even talk to Cyrus when I was prepared to meet him, so a surprise encounter really stun-locks me. I leave the statue downtrodden over another missed chance at introducing myself, when all of a sudden, I feel a tap on my shoulder. I spin hard in my throat, but it's not Cyrus, it's just some lady. Admittedly, her hair's clearly seen the better side of some mane and tail, but it's not even pink or blue. So what's the point? Thankfully, the lingering glow of my encounter with the real Cyrus manifests in a glow around Cyrus the Zubat, or should I say the Golbat. With his newly 4-foot mouth, it stands to reason that Cyrus is hungry, and although he may have just developed eyeballs, it's safe to say that his eyes are not too big for his stomach as he chomps his way through every vegetal foe the Eterna City gym has to answer. Oui, for your first course, sir, a salad of locally foraged rare twigs and herbs. Your main, sauteed cherries on a beer fuchsia. And for your dessert, our signature dish, candied rose petals that also have a tuxedo mask on them, I guess. Bon appetit! 5 wing attacks later, Cyrus is finally sated, and my resume is starting to look a bit more respectable. Next up, a visit to the hallowed ground of the Eterna Galactic building. From my first step inside, I get a sense that this is different. A feeling only affirmed by the presence of the first ever grunt who seems to know a word more than 2 syllables. Finally, a coworker worth my time. Someone I can bond with in our devotion to the Galactic— Oh my god, it's Looker. I gotta admit, he almost got me, but I don't think his case would stand up. I've been offered enough contraband Pokeballs in my life to know that's police entrapment. This is just one more meeting of the blades in our never-ending battle of wits. So after barely slipping out of the shackles of the law, I make my way upstairs for my interview with Commander Jupiter. I gotta say, maybe I'm just not familiar with the company culture, but most prospective bosses I've had don't immediately try to knock me out and steal my money. They usually just steal my money. After another round of bat-on-bat combat, Jupiter reveals her ace, so I decide to let my stinky girl meet her inspo. Jupiter's a good pick here because her mirrored typing means she resists Night Slash and is immune to poison gas. And although she isn't able to quite best her personal idol, she does set things up nicely for Surd to swiftly finish the job. Now, Commander Mars may have enjoyed our battle, but Commander Jupiter seems like she'd be a far more unforgiving manager, so I tuck my resume back in my pocket. She does seem to have kidnapped some Pokemon here, but Jupiter mentions that this is all to let Cyrus rule Sinnoh, which has to be worth it, right? Any doubts I have are erased when I catch a glimpse of Galactic's mission statement on an inspirational poster. I mean, world peace? That's genius. I've never actually thought of it before, but yeah, world peace would be a pretty good answer to a lot of our problems. On the way out of the building, Cynthia accosts me with what appears to be a mandatory egg, but that's fine. After the fight with Commander Jupiter, my team's in need of some sustenance. With our bellies filled and our energy restored, we can make our way down Cycling Road and towards Mount Coronet, where I once again have a surprise encounter with Cyrus. This time though, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna tell him I'm a fan and my life is his to do with as he sees fit. But once again, before I can so much as utter a syllable, Cyrus unleashes one of his patented dead-eyed monologues. I've seen these dozens of times from the phone screen, but it has a little extra oomph in person, and this one is all for me. He talks of a new world, one without strife. I mean, hell yeah, this world can be cold and unfeeling. Surely building a new one for all to enjoy is a noble cause. This man offers everything I've ever wanted, a sense of purpose, a feeling of community. His words rain down on me like a shower of hope, a light that brightens the darkness in my life. Is this what it feels like to stand in the presence of greatness? Was this what it was like to listen to Homer in the Acropolis, Shakespeare in the Globe Theater, Haley Welsh on the Talk to a podcast? You'll forgive me for being too overwhelmed to stop Cyrus as he walks away. And besides, there's always more achievements for me to get so that my application is even stronger. In Hearthome City, the 3rd gym leader awaits, though since I have 2 dark types and a load more attacks of the same persuasion, I'm expecting to leave a trail of ectoplasm in my wake. Common misconception here though, many people think Fantina is French, but she's actually Quebecois. That's why nobody from Kalos will talk to her, and you'll always catch her singing My Heart Will Go On. Banger, by the way. Surd's assurance isn't quite enough to get the one-shot on Fantina's lead, which leaves her open to a Will-O-Wisp, though that promptly gets cured by a held Rossberry, so this lets our bird tear through both Duskull and Haunter like 2 loaves of freshly baked sourdough bread. And Miss Magius should be a cakewalk too. Surd either resists or is immune to every one of her moves, except for Confuse Ray, which she of course promptly uses. Although we do get the attack off, it's a low roll, and I can't afford to leave Surd in here. Any confusion mishaps could mean one more ghost haunting this gym. So I go to Mars on a Shadow Ball and am promptly seized by the realization of her mortality when Psybeam does just over half damage, meaning she was dead to a crit. Mars's feint attack manages to push Miss Magius back into assurance range, but it also prompts a super potion as Surd comes back in. I really need to get attacks off now, but thanks to another Confuse Ray, Surd thinks she's one of the birds flying dizzily around her head, and she hits herself in confusion. I mean, I can use my ghost and psychic immunities to get Surd back in safely, but it is at the cost of a Shadow Ball that now leaves her in range of a critical hit. Thankfully though, I still have one more weapon. Cyrus, the rapidly rising leader of our squad, tanks a Shadow Ball on the switch and outspeeds Miss Magius for the KO, thankfully getting me out of the battle completely deathless. That one's gonna look real good on the old CV. Our rival fight, as always, is trivial thanks to Mars and Cyrus. At this point, I think I'm finally ready to apply. I've got an undying resolve for the cause, 3 gym badges, and 4 Pokemon. I mean, based on the caliber of grunts I've seen so far, I'm actually probably overqualified. And what better place to make good on my dream than Veilstone City, home of the Veilstone Galactic building? I stride in, chest puffed tall, and too young? Too young, buddy, I'm 30. Curse my flawless complexion and youthful joie de vivre. Why? Why do they reject me? For my age? No, it's so obvious. I've been waiting for their approval, but I have to be proactive. I have to show them that I'm serious.
What are you doing?
I'm giving myself a bowl cut.
Don't give yourself a bowl cut for the video.
Okay.
Alright, well, it seems as though I won't be able to don their hairstyle after all, but then something strikes me. So far, I've only aspired to become a grunt, and yet not a single one of them can keep up with me. In fact, none of the admins can either. Why settle for a position on the ground floor of Team Galactic when I'm so clearly meant to be sitting on the top floor? Screw being a grunt and screw a bowl cut. I'm going to a 6 cans of hairspray type gig. Cyrus is gonna get a cover letter so good, he'll probably even give me me health insurance. So I now have a greater goal, one as lofty as the building before me, a monument that crests the sky where our organization's cosmic ambitions dwell. Bolstered with admiration for our noble cause and given new purpose, I slip into dreams about the day I stand as one of Cyrus's admins. Who will that future Flygon HG be? I recruit Houndour whilst daydreaming, although the process is a little tedious. See, the Houndour I encounter on Route 214 roars me away, and since this is a hardcore Nuzlocke, I mean you read the title of the video, I can only attempt to catch the first Pokemon I find on each route. So then I have to head to Valor Lakefront to find another Houndour, and this time I make sure to use Taunt to ensure that he can't go for a roar. But I'm barely registering the events down here on Earth. My thoughts are drifting in the cosmos. What should my name be when I'm an admin? Neptune? Uranus? Venus? No, can't be that one. It sounds way too close to penis. Yeah, I think Uranus is probably good, though a name is but one piece of a galactic admin's persona. Of equal importance is the distinctive dew atop their head. While musing on potential hair colors and dye jobs, I catch a Krogunk from Route 212, and I make a mistake. See, Jupiter may have been a rude potential boss, but I can't deny how stunning her dew was, and in the reverie of her pink locks, I accidentally named Krogunk Jupiter instead of Saturn. So now I've got two Jupiters. Or should I say, two Pitters? No, that one's bad. We can cut that. Well, Cyrus is finally feeling chummy enough to evolve into Crobat just in time for the Veilstone City gym, and a good battler knows not to fix what ain't broken, though from Maylene's perspective, Wing Attack probably seems very broken. I'm packing Roost on Cyrus in case we ever get hit, but clearly Maylene's Pokemon are due for a trip to Warby Parker since they proceed to miss both Rock Tomb and Metal Claw. A good easy win, although I'm a bit afraid my resume is starting to look somewhat repetitive. Before we can leave Veilstone City, Dawn lets me know that a couple of galactic goons have taken her Pokedex. By now, I know better than to concern myself with the actions of these grunts. I mean, it's really a testament to Cyrus's kindness that he's given a home to two trainers who are still toting around level 24 Zubats. It takes all kinds, I suppose. When Looker pops up next, I'm not even surprised. This man will stop at no end to catch me in the act. He even stoops so low as to call Team Galactic trivial and minuscule, a pathetic attempt at emotional warfare that might work on a lesser foe, but not on the type of guy who had the brains to click Wing Attack 7 times in a row. Thankfully, the org planned far enough ahead to keep our warehouse locked down, so the feds can't get any info yet, which leaves me free to head to Pastoria City. On the way, both Jupiters managed to evolve, with the bipedal mustachioed one proving to be the perfect answer for Crasher Wake, and he can even do it fast enough for me to still make my Mudmask appointment in the Great Marsh. Since Crasher Wake doesn't understand how dry skin works, his Gyarados is rendered totally useless. I try to use a Pecha Berry charged electric-type natural gift to one-shot the pool noodle, but Jupiter's timid nature means that was completely out of the question, and instead it's death by 1,000 sucker punches. Quagsire is Crasher Wake's only real threat to Jupiter, but Cyrus uses my most practiced on-the-job skill to plow through the bulky amphibian and bring in our foe's final Pokemon. Floatzel just requires a bit of pivoting around Ice Fang, which I'm happy I did, since Jupiter the Skuntank immediately gets frozen on the switch. But then I make Floatzel see double by bringing in the other to finish things off and snag the 5th gym badge. So now I'm all set to relax with a hard-earned Mudmask. But before I can even get one drop on my face, I'm interrupted by a loud doom. As a frantic galactic grunt proceeds to explain, he's blown up a bomb in the Great Marsh. Now look, dad napping, as we've mentioned, doesn't faze me. Poke-napping, they made 2 whole GameCube games about that. But domestic terrorism is where I have to draw the line. Could Team Galactic really be behind something this reckless? Hey, wait a minute. Is this grunt British? Okay, that must be it. This is a rogue operator from the UK cell of the organization. Clearly not an authorized Sinnohan member. Surely there was just a miscommunication due to the language barrier, and I bet Cyrus is pissed. So I take it upon myself to bring this doofus in line. I give chase out of Pastoria City where Looker tries to stop me, but for once we're on the same page. My pursuit takes me past the sandy cliffs of Route 213, blitzing past hotel visitors, through rooms, up up and down stairs. At this point, no grunt has given me a greater challenge or a greater workout. When I'm finally able to catch up, I'm ready for a fight like no other. One promising the thrill of foreign strategies and Pokemon the likes of which I've never seen. Well, I guess the British division could use some work. On our journey north, Mars finally evolves into Purugly, just in time for us to reach Celestic Town, where we've been hired to deliver a package. But imagine my surprise when I find yet another grunt lurking outside the ruins. This one also wants to blow up a bomb, and this time I'm detecting a distinct lack of a British accent. The fight is as easy as ever, but my mind is clouded. Could this actually be the goal of Team Galactic? My Team Galactic? That can't be right. I have to get to the bottom of this, and deep inside the Celestic ruins, I do get my answer. I hear a voice and my heart drops. It's Cyrus. This means that he knew about the bombing. No, not just that. It means that he was the one who ordered it. Was I wrong about Team Galactic? Were they just terrorists? My mind races, my heart beats loud, my entire world is spinning. Was everything I knew a lie? I feel like fainting, collapsing. I need a lifeline, something to keep me from losing control, and that's when Cyrus starts to speak, more powerfully than I've ever heard before. His voice cuts through the noise. The world feels less shaky. My heartbeat slows. My mind feels at peace. I feel safe and seen. Team Galactic's not wrong. I'm not wrong. The bombing, it was an unfortunate necessity. Why? I don't know, but I'm sure Cyrus has his reasons. He's a genius, a natural-born leader, and leaders can't be wrong. Otherwise, what would that say about me for following him? Obviously, his actions are reasonable, even if I can't explain it. Cyrus is offering a change from this world, one that Cynthia's grandmother seems perfectly content with. But isn't that always how it goes? The previous generation destroys the world, we inherit it, and then they complain when we try to fix it. I've seen the opinions of the youth trampled under the unfeeling authority of the old before, but not this time. So when Cyrus asks me if he's wrong, I know my answer. No. Well, apparently the Galactic Organization rewards independent thinking because I'm thrust into a battle anyways. Cyrus only has 3 Pokemon, though only one of them is a true threat, but he is a big one. After Charon displaces Sneasel, said threat comes in. See, Galactic Grunt teams, by and large, are not particularly physically bulky, and since Cyrus's Murkrow was sired by some Cantonian mother clucker with a big beak and a bigger libido, we're staring down the barrel of a massive stab drill peck. In fact, a critical hit would have left Charon with just a single hit point. Fortunately, Mars's new weight gain gives her just enough cushioning to be a safe switch-in, so from there, we use Fake Out, Return, and an excellent speed stat to plow through the rest of Cyrus's team. In the aftermath, I'm left confounded, though. That was easy. Way too easy. But then, Cyrus says one word. Remarkable. And it hits me. That was my tryout. Sure, Cyrus isn't saying I'm on the team, but he can't. The Elder's right there, and Looker's probably in here disguised as a rock or something. I give Cyrus my subtlest wink as he heads out, and he gives no response. But no worries, boss. I'm picking up the completely silent message you're putting down. I finally understand my role. In fact, it's the one I've been playing this whole time. Call me 2006 era Denzel, cause I'm the inside man. And that means I've got to keep up my cover. To the world, I'm just another 30-year-old kid on his Pokemon journey. If I were to abandon that now, it would raise suspicions. My next move has to be consistent, and that means I'm off to Canalave City. When I arrive, Narc is trying to stage yet another stupid prank video, but this time the joke's on me. Because if you thought Cyrus's Murkrow's Drill Peck was bad, imagine a Staraptor takedown. I have almost nothing on my team that's safe against this move, and nothing that can one-shot Staraptor, especially after an Intimidate. I lead Mars for some Fake Out chip, followed by a Speedy Return, though Narc retaliates with a double team, meaning that now I no longer even have a way to ensure a hit. There's no switch that saves me here. I have to hope that Mars can eliminate this threat quickly. So I go for a return, and she hits! Thanks, Cyrus, I'm out of this! Okay, Staraptor lives on 1 HP, though that's fine because his takedown recoil will get the kill. Okay, Narc, I gotta give it to you. That clip's probably gonna do some numbers. But with his clip secured, Narc virtually just rolls over in the face of Cyrus thanks to his team's triple flying type weaknesses. Buddy, we turned Gardenia's Roserade into a dessert, so you're barely an hors d'oeuvre. Wait, joie de vivre Québécois hors d'oeuvre? Ah, man, just when I find a script writer I like, he's gotta go and be French? Ah. Well, for once, Cyrus is on the bench for a gym battle because after Charon roasts Magneton and Steelix with a pair of Choice Specs flamethrowers, all that's left is Byron's Bastiodon. Normally, this Pokemon is also a pushover, but we don't have anything that can one-shot him, and giving Bastiodon a chance to retaliate with a Metal Burst could mean a swift death for one of my 6 teammates. This dinosaur needs to be managed very precisely, and that means it's a job for Jupiter and Jupiter. Step right up, folks, and watch the incredible Jupiter twins perform their astonishing feats of prestidigitation. Round and round the Pokeball goes. Which Jupiter comes out, nobody knows. Gaze in awe as they dish out 20 damage at a time. You've never seen a Toxicroak with a lower attack stat. But wait, it was all a ruse. This frog's of the timid persuasion. And that's it, it's all over. Jupiter notches a knockout with a bomb so massive you'd think Galactic set it off themselves. With my position on Team Galactic all but ensured by Cyrus himself, there's no need to update my resume anymore. At this point, my job is simple. Listen and report. Ooh, Professor Rowan wants to give me a boring history lesson? Happy to oblige. And while I struggle to stay awake, I do learn valuable intel. Rowan's after the Lake Trio too, which makes him public enemy number 1. Another explosion, this time big enough to get Team Galactic on the news. In response, Rowan sends me off to handle Lake Valor, just as I've planned. However, I'm not at all prepared for the scene that awaits me. The other bombs didn't hurt anyone. But this is different. Everywhere I look, Magikarp are flopping helplessly in the crater that was once Lake Valor. And looking at the aftermath of this violent attack, I feel nothing. I mean, this is literally what Magikarp do normally, right? I guess the lake getting blown up is kinda sad, but oh no, where else will we get a Magikarp from? Anyways, I'm just here to pull the wool over Rowan's eyes. I'm assuming that by now Cyrus has told everyone about my undercover role. I mean, no one's even battling me. That is, no one except Commander Saturn, and that's when I remember I never renamed my Toxicroak. Commander Saturn, I am so sorry. I swear it was an accident. And okay, he's battling me. Well, allow me to introduce you to your colleagues, Flamethrower and Wing Attack. That's how we settle arguments in Team Galactic. Commander Saturn gets it, he even calls me his friend after I win, and our battle did absolutely nothing to disrupt the team's plans anyways. So now I'm off to Lake Verity next, and unfortunately with that meddlesome Dawn around like a rash you can't quite shake, Commander Mars and I have to keep up our appearances. She even pretends that she's unhappy to see me. Sheesh, Commander Mars, you're a bona fide thespian. Have you considered taking your talents to Pokestar Studios? That said, she graciously lets her namesake have her day in the sun by winning the Peruglioff. In defeat, she covertly passes me a mission update. The squad's got the whole Lake Trio, and Rowan, none the wiser, thinks I'm actually trying to stop them. Unfortunately, that does mean that he's sending me north to check up on our resident Hype House member, and after trudging through the snow, I find Narc alive, well, and at the top of an impassable rocky path. Well, impassable unless you've got a Houndoom, because 3 flamethrowers and a critical hit feint attack later, Candace is dispatched and we're back at the lake where Narc has predictably gotten his shit pushed in. But with all the Lake Trio secured, I've succeeded in my mission, and that means it's off to Veilstone City to see our great plan fulfilled. But first, I make a quick stop in Eterna City to ensure that there's no bad blood between Commander Saturn and I. As I stride towards my new home, Galactic HQ, I feel a pair of eyes on the back of my neck. By now, I know what that means. Hello, my old friend. Looker asks if I've got my reasons to enter the hideout. Oh, Looker, reasons like you wouldn't believe. At this point, I've got no reason to keep up the facade, but I've grown fond of our tests of metal. No one keeps the mind sharp like Looker, so sure, he can pretend that I'm helping him break into our hideout. He can look askance as I use this oh-so-conveniently placed Duskstone to bring my team to full power just before the final act. He thinks I'll crack? I'll never crack. Last time I came to this building, I remember the response. You're too young, kid. Grow up. Your hair looks like shit. Well, look at me now, waltzing through the front doors, a full-fledged member of the team. I stroll through the hallways and caverns of their base. No, our base. And wouldn't you know it, I'm just in time to see the man who brought me to this point. Fellow members of Team Galactic, hear me. This world of ours is a crude one. In a word, it is incomplete. It has been and always will be a struggle to survive in this world. We humans and Pokemon are likewise incomplete because we are also lacking. We fight, we maim. It is ugly. The world should be complete. The world must change. Then who will change it? Me, Cyrus, and Team Galactic. Yes, all of you. Understand it, fellow members. My long-held dream world is on the verge of becoming reality. All those headed to Mount Coronet and those who remain here, though our missions may differ, our hearts beat as one. Let there be glory for Team Galactic. He's right. I've known he's right since the day I first saw his Joel TikToks. Even Looker has to admit that he's moved by his charisma. He's only 27? Well, think of what he's accomplished at such a young age. He's just wise beyond his years. Who has time for skincare when you're busy changing the world? With that, I ascend to the top floor of Galactic HQ to finally receive my commendation. To finally join the ranks of Team Galactic as Cyrus's right-hand man, and hopefully to finally get my very own custom haircut. I've been waiting for what feels like eons for this. My heart is moving a mile a minute. The moment is finally here. The moment I finally belong. So you've come. You heard my speech, I take it. A big lie, of course. It's true insofar as my intention is to create a new world, but that world isn't for the likes of Team Galactic. I seek an entirely new world solely for myself. You've seen my minions of Team Galactic. You yourself must know that they are uniformly useless and incomplete. In an instant, my world shatters. It was all a lie. The vision he promised? Just a sedative designed for the most selfish endeavors possible. A fairy tale told to tantalize the masses so that they'd be too busy to see the truth. He took advantage of my dreams. No, not just my dreams. The dreams of everyone in Team Galactic. We were all suckered by a snake oil salesman, a fraud, a hypocrite. We all dreamed of a place where we could finally belong. A longing and emotion roused by his silver tongue. And now he has the gall to call me weak for those very same emotions? No, I'll show you who's weak. Unfortunately, this is not Cyrus's full team. For whatever reason, he's still toying with me, and even in victory, my rage grows. I'm sick of feeling played, and I hate myself for falling for his ruse. And that self-hatred only grows as I see the Lake Trio, once free spirits, bound and shackled. I'm responsible for this. I was a fool, a prisoner deluded into thinking he's free, but all I did was make more prisoners. I can at least right that wrong, though. A simple trouncing of Saturn and the Lake Trio are free. But it's not enough. I've endangered the entire world with my delusions. There's only one solution to this, one way to fix all of it. I have to stop Cyrus myself. Being emotionless, I've got vengeance in my stomach and rage in my heart, and I'm gonna use them both to beat Cyrus to a pulp. On the way to the summit of Mount Coronet, I run into Looker, so it's time for us to conclude our battle of wits. He was right. Team Galactic was wrong, and for the greater good of Sinnoh, I need to confess so that we can work together. And in doing so, I will be giving him the self-incrimination he's been looking for since Jubilife City. So, well played, my dear friend. I humbly accept my defeat. Wait, what the hell is this? A black flute? You're sending me up the side of a mountain to face off against the powerful head of a terrorist group alone, and to help me with this life or death mission, you're giving me a black flute? Oh my god, he's a moron. I thought I was playing mind games with a savant, and this whole time I was playing chess with a dog. And I was losing because the dog was right. Oh, I think I need to go to therapy. But first, let's save the world. I ascend through the caverns of Mount Coronet, crushing grunt after grunt along the way. How many of them are just victims of their circumstances, tricked into aiding Cyrus without knowing what's truly going to happen? It's not a question I care to know the answer to. I finally make it to the peak of Mount Coronet, and all I want to do is confront Cyrus. But first, I've got to handle Commander Mars and Jupiter one last time. If this were a 1v2, it'd actually be a cakewalk, but unfortunately, I've got Narc, the human personification of dead weight, by my side to make things more complicated. Most of this battle comes down to using his Pokemon as meat shields to keep my side safe. Sharon leads to toast a Bronzor and get good damage off on Perugly, but as soon as he takes some damage, it's off to Jupiter, and then once Jupiter takes damage, it's off to Cyrus, and you get the picture. This fight takes a while, but it isn't all that interesting, and everyone makes it out safe and sound, except for Narc's Munchlax, and his Infernape, and his Floatzel. But with all the time it takes to beat these stooges, it looks like we're too late to stop things. Cyrus lets his chain hang low and summons both Dialga and Palkia, the gods of time and space themselves. But then a third Pokemon appears, one unexpected even by Cyrus himself. Giratina emerges from the shadows and gives Cyrus what I think is the Pokemon franchise's only jump scare to date. When I stop screaming and open my eyes, Cyrus is gone. So, problem solved, yeah? We can just wrap it up here at, oh, you say the distortion will swallow our world whole? I gotta go in there and stop it? Ugh. Why can't anything ever be simple? The distortion world is filled with twisted waterfalls and floating platforms that boggle the very limits of my comprehension. Gravity seems to undulate and flow by rules I cannot guide. It's like nothing I've ever seen before, and it's also nothing I can navigate with my current team. Good thing I'm not a Galactic Grunt anymore. Introducing our Distortion World Ringer, my new head honcho, Boss the Bibarrel. And after Boss takes us through Giratina's pitch for a Christopher Nolan-themed amusement park, we find ourselves face to face with Cyrus for the last time. This is absolutely our hardest fight so far. His Honchkrow is scary as always, but Cyrus has also beefed up the rest of his team. Weavile's a threat, Gyarados is a threat, hell, everything is a threat. And if you check the fine print of Boss's union contract, it specifically forbids any battling in nightmarish hellscape dimensions. Also, he's level 15. So we've got to do this with 5 Pokemon. I lead off with Saturn against Houndoom. Though his timid nature has made things difficult before, here he's able to outspeed and get the KO. This crucially baits in Gyarados, since Water Flying is technically a better matchup into Poison Fighting than either Honchkrow's or Crobat's dual typings. Unfortunately, this isn't Crasher Wake Part 2 though, this Gyarados has Earthquake. But luckily we have a Crobat, so Cyrus gets some U-turn chip off as we go back to Saturn. Then our batty boss is able to come back in, and with the chip from his own assist, a Wepperberry boosted electric type natural gift takes the KO. With Gyarados down, Weavile comes in third, and though it may seem like he's prepped to use his powerful Ice Punch, he instead opts for a Fake Out, which Cyrus's deeply honed inner focus ignores, allowing for fantastic damage via U-turn. So then I can switch between Sharon and Cyrus to bait X Scissors and Ice Punches while consistently getting off good damage with U-turn. That lets us switch to Cyrus, who U-turns one more time, finishing off Weavile and allowing Jupiter to make her first appearance of the fight. She can always take one critical hit Drill Peck from Honchkrow, so the plan here is to get off a Toxic and then stall until Honchkrow is in range of a Poison Jab. The first part goes off without a hitch, but the second part, not so much. Poison Jab and Toxic damage fail to pick up the KO, and although Jupiter does dodge a Drill Peck crit, Cyrus heals, which is bad. Very bad. A Drill Peck crit will end the life of anyone who comes in, so I've got no other answer than to Poison Jab and pray. I throw out my attack, and Jupiter gets the crit and a high roll, one-shotting Honchkrow when it matters most. In retrospect, I could have easily avoided any risk by just equipping a Poison Barb to ensure that Jupiter's jabs were a guaranteed 2-hit KO, but when skill fails, luck saves the day. That just leaves Cyrus's Crobat, still a very fearsome foe thanks to Air Slash flinches and Confuse Ray. We pivot through Surd to bait Cross Poison, then to Cyrus for one final round of everyone's favorite spectacle, special and the best part of any Little League game. It's time for bat-on-bat combat. Thanks to Roost, Cyrus is able to mostly keep himself safe, especially after a missed air slash. We get off a fly, but then Crobat lands a risky Confuse Ray. It would be delicious to end our idle-turned enemy with his very own namesake, but in this moment, I know what I have to do. One small part of Cyrus's teaching stays with me. Set the emotion aside and go for the win. So I bring in Surd, tank an air slash, and launch a sucker punch for the clean KO. Cyrus is down, and he is pissed. He's rambling now, barely coherent, throwing anything at the wall that'll stick. Capturing Giratina's gonna destroy this world? Yeah, right. Get a grip, man. And while you're at it, get some Aveeno or something. You look like shit. So with Sinnoh saved, Cynthia and I head out of the distortion world, and I know where I've got to go next. Team Galactic's dead. I've got nothing left to do but apologize to Rowan, the man who I mercilessly tricked to get us into this mess. But when I get there, I find something unexpected. Rowan was concerned about me. He was worried. Rowan, Dawn, even Narc in his neurodivergent way, they care about me. This is what I've been looking for since I left Twinleaf Town. A community, and I've had it from the very beginning. As I bask in the warm sentiment of a true father figure, the words of my former father figure, who was apparently actually 3 years younger than me, rings in my ears. You know what, Cyrus? I will carry on your legacy. I will make a new world, but not by destroying the one we have, by changing it. You may have sold us a lie, but I'll make good on that lie and craft a world not just for one, but for everyone. I'll become champion of this region, and I'll do it with the Pokemon that you thought so little of, proudly bearing Team Galactic names as proof that anyone can change. But before the Elite Four, we've got a depressed gym leader to handle. Now, normally an EQ spamming Pokemon like Saturn would make this fight pretty easy, but his timid nature means that we miss out on several crucial KOs. Nevertheless, he's our lead since Jolteon simply opts for a Thunder Wave that is predictably handled with a Cherry Berry, best Nuzlocker in the world, and although we don't quite KO in return, this actually ends up being a bonus. We bait out a Hyper Potion and are able to pick up the KO anyways with the combo of another Earthquake and a Priority Vacuum Wave. At this point, I'm expecting Raichu to come out next, but instead it's Electivire, which means that I've got to make some risky and unexpected plays. We rip an Earthquake, and the result is that Electivire's Thunder Punch could KO us with a crit. Thankfully, it doesn't, and Saturn just barely manages to pick up the second KO. But with our HP this low, we've obviously got to switch against Luxray, though his rivalry ability means that my female Pokemon should have enough bulk to skate by. Jupiter eats up a Thunderfang and lands a Toxic that virtually seals Luxray's death. We do get paralyzed as a result, and this time there's no Cherry Berry to be found, because HP is the most important resource for us here. The next Charged Chomp activates our Citrus Berry, and we land a nice Poison Jab. So now there's just one more risk left. We need to not get paralyzed on one last Thunderfang. Mars comes in and escapes without paralysis, letting us clean up with Return. So now it's smooth sailing. I pivot through Cyrus on a Focus Blast and back into Mars with a U-turn on the Charge Beam, sealing up the matchup with one more Return. That was a slightly risky fight, but we're out unscathed. If I were still crafting a resume at this point, it would just read, dodged every crit. With our badge case full and our curriculum vitae overflowing, we only have one hurdle left, the Elite Four. So really 4 hurdles left, plus a secret 5th hurdle. And also there's a final fight against Narc, who can't help but pop in for one more surprise at the literal last step. This time though, the fight is easy. Charon's gotten strong enough to one-shot Staraptor with a Specs Flamethrower, so the only potential issue is his Snorlax, but Surd graciously dodges a Body Slam Paralysis, letting us put our patented Cyrus Sweep strategy into effect. Alright, now it's time for the Pokémon League. Our final team is, of course, the only 6 Pokémon we've had. Pokémon we've heard disparaged as weak and useless by grunts throughout this entire playthrough. This is going to be a hard 4 battles, don't get me wrong, but I know they can do it. So, let's go make our new world. And when I said 4 hard battles, I did mean 4 because the fight against Aaron really shouldn't count as a battle at all. I mean, I've always thought it was really cool that they made a Bug-type Elite Four member. It's a good opportunity to show off some of the coolest Pokemon in a type usually known as weak. Pokemon like Yanmega, Vespiquen, Scizor, and Heracross. But, unfortunately for Aaron, no amount of coolness can keep his Bug safe from Charon's special form of genius. The only one that does survive, ironically enough, is his non-bug type bug Drapion. If I were Aaron, I might be having a serious identity crisis right about now. Bertha poses a much bigger problem thanks to her Sandstream Hippowdon. With 2 poison types on our team and the good defense stats on all of Bertha's Pokemon, there's really only one of our teammates that can handle this fight. The same one that sliced through Aaron's bugs like a full set of perfectly cooked fish fillets. All we gotta do is turn the weather in our favor. We lead off with Mars for some nasty chip via Fake Out. Now, Return might actually KO at this point, but that's not the goal here. Instead, we use 2 U-turns to go through Cyrus and then into Charon, bringing him in safely on either Zen Headbutt or the move that Whiscash does end up choosing, Sandstorm. Now we can abuse the fact that Bertha's AI tells her to use a Hyper Potion, ensuring that we can get off a Solar Beam that kills even with the Sandstorm nerf. Taking the kill with Charon is essential to baiting in Hippowdon second instead of any of Bertha's other 3 Pokemon, because now it's time for our very first PP stall of the entire run. Hippowdon might have Stone Edge, but Cyrus can still stall them out with Roosts, and once the Hungry Hippo is out of all 5 PP and starts going for Yawns, we can go to Mars to click Rain Dance, thereby ending Bertha's Eternal Sandstorm while also critically minimizing chip damage and setting up Jupiter's Dry Skin. Then we just switch between Surge, Saturn, and Cyrus until Hippo is totally out of Earthquakes and Yawns and forced to use her final move, Crunch. This lets Jupiter come in to set up a Heat Rock boosted Sunny Day before I bring in Charon and start ripping Specs Solar Beams against Bertha's biggest threats. Gliscor is last, so all I have to do is pivot out into Cyrus and then back into Charon, who can use the 8th and final turn of Sun to rip a boosted Flamethrower for his 10th KO of the Elite Four. Now, Flint's got me scared for the exact same reason as his blonde buddy. If Saturn were just a bit stronger, we could do an easy Earthquake sweep, but that timid nature is really throwing a wrench into things. That said, he is still our strongest lead into Houndoom, who immediately falls to an unnecessary critical hit Brick Break. Flint then sends out another Pokemon that Toxicroak could one-shot. I say could because there are exactly 2 damage rolls that let Rapidash live. Luckily, our Earthquake doesn't get one of them. Unluckily, it gets the other one, letting Rapidash set up a Sunny Day. That's mental damage to me and real damage to Saturn courtesy of Dry Skin. And with the low roll, I need to course correct just a bit because the sun causes some problems down the line. I decide to crib from my Bertha strategy and exploit the chance to bring Mars in for free as Flint goes for the heal. Fake Out provides good chip as always, and thanks to Mars's great speed tier, I can use Rain Dance on the following turn before Rapidash goes for Solar Beam? I mean, I was expecting a Flare Blitz, but I'll happily take this boneheaded play. I guess Flint's Afro is hiding a fairly smooth brain because this means I can now go back into Saturn extremely safely and claim my KO. Ironically enough, this is almost better than if I'd gotten the KO because Saturn gets out of this turn at full HP with a full restore burned, and we have the rain up. I should have known better than to doubt my froggy friend. The Sun Shower is a huge deal here because it guarantees an Earthquake from Infernape over a Flare Blitz that in standard weather would technically have overlapping damage rolls thanks to Dry Skin. But in the rain, I can now much more safely switch to Cyrus for the guaranteed KO via Wide Lens boosted Fly. So now it's time for Flint's biggest threat, Magmortar. Luckily, I have a plan. After you turning out, I go into Mars on a Thunderbolt. She clicks her trusty Fake Out, bringing Magmortar down to around 60%. Now, Ducklips is in range of a Silk Scarf boosted return. There's just one issue. I don't have a Silk Scarf attached. Instead, I have a Cherry Berry just in case that Thunderbolt paralyzed me. It didn't, but I want you to know that I was ready just in case it did. And besides, this is totally fine. I U-turn out into Charon on the Flamethrower, who once again baits Thunderbolt. Saturn needed to be holding an Expert Belt to ensure some of these KOs, which means that we don't have a Cherry Berry on this switch, but toxic goat was never getting paralyzed here. 2 earthquakes later, and we're 3 battles into the Elite Four. Which brings us to Lucian, who is almost as simple as Aaron. However, since I'm going to have to switch Pokemon twice, he technically maintains his relevance as one of our 4 battles. After Charon Dark Pulses through Mr. Mime, Lucian brings in his fighting type Gallade. All good, I can just go out to Cyrus on the Drain Punch and—
No, Flygon, don't do it!
Who is that?
It's me, which is to say it's you.
Oh my god, dude. I look like shit. What happened?
This is the moment where everything changed. The path that leads to a dark future when I, Hubris Swelling, made one mistake.
What? I have a safe switch. Gallade's gonna use Drain Punch.
Look again.
Okay, I mean, it can't Psycho Cut, it can't Leaf Blade, but oh my god. Stone Edge also sees a kill. It's a random move between Stone Edge and Drain Punch. I almost just switched my Crobat in on a Stone Edge.
And it kills him. And then because he dies, you wipe to the champion. The video does very, very poorly. Your channel tanks. You should be able to find a direction, but you can't. Your wife supports you until it's simply not feasible. And you stop moisturizing and you never get a good haircut again. And that's why you look the way I do.
Okay. Thank you. I got it. I think I know what to do. All I gotta do here is first switch to Saturn, as Lucian does indeed choose to go for Stone Edge instead of Drain Punch. So, crisis averted. I can't believe that I almost lost everything because of that one blunder.
It was also because you got addicted to sports gambling.
Hey, it doesn't count as gambling if you know you're gonna win.
That is an extremely concerning statement.
Wait, if you're from the future, can you at least tell me if May and Vrabel win a Super Bowl together?
I can't tell you anything that might change the future. But no!
Yeah, in my heart, I knew that was probably true. Well, with the safe switch to Saturn, the good timeline is very clear, because now I can switch to Mars on a Psycho Cut, and then use her normal typing to bait the guaranteed Drain Punch such that Cyrus is free to come in and take the KO with his patented wide lens boosted Fly. Then from here, we U-turn out to Surd, who can freely sucker punch the speedy duo of Espeon and Alakazam. Bronzong's last and doesn't quite die to 2 Night Slashes, so we make sure to throw in one iteration of the move that's carried us through an entire 2 gyms just to avoid the healing dance, thereby cleanly wrapping up the fight against the last member of the Elite Four. So finally, we're here. I started this journey as a naive kid with a dream, and along the way, I saw my original vision of that dream tarnished and trampled. But now I've brought a pure, unsullied version of that dream here, on the backs of 6 Pokemon once called weak. 6 friends made, 8 gyms conquered, 4 Elite Four members defeated, 1 evil organization toppled, all with 0 deaths. And now there's just 1 champion to beat. We lead off with the undisputed MVP of the run, Cyrus. His U-turns and flying type coverage have been invaluable this whole time, and that's not about to change here. U-turn baits out Spiritomb Psychic on Surd while also getting the chip necessary to ensure our Night Slash is a 2-hit KO. Next comes Togekiss, but with fairy typing still just a twinkle in Game Freak's eye, this matchup isn't so bad. That said, Sir will still have to risk a crit here. We sucker punch for good damage as Shockwave does a huge chunk in return, but thankfully still leaves us intact. That means that it's time for a hard switch to Mars and time for her signature move, Fake Out. But just like against Flint, I'm left with a situation where I don't know if Return will KO. All good though, because if there's one thing we're thankful for in Gen 4, it's the physical special split first and U-turn second. Cyrus easily eats an Aura Sphere and then pulls a Yui of his own into Charon on a Shockwave. Cynthia heals here, but Charon can claim the KO with with 2 specs flamethrowers and a crit for good measure, which baits in Milotic third. Thankfully, Saturn pretty much walls her, although a crit on our second brick break keeps us from the potential threat of an Ice Beam freeze. That was a nice halftime breather, but now it's time for one of the most notorious Pokemon in all of Nuzlocking. The Mon that's ended thousands of runs before, Cynthia's Garchomp. Now, normally you can just rip an Ice-type move and call it a day, but I couldn't afford the Ice Punch move slot on Saturn, and he'd just get outsped and die to an Earthquake anyways. In fact, every Pokemon I have is at threat of death here. Thankfully, though, I do have one Pokemon who can outspeed the beast and hit her with an Ice-type move. Cyrus, who's holding a Palm Egg Berry specifically for a 70 base power Ice-type natural gift. It'll do a lot of damage, but to guarantee the KO, I actually need to get Garchomp down to 55%. And that means it's time for a classic last battle sacrifice. Over this entire game, I've gone deathless with the same 6 Pokemon, but I just don't see a safe way through this without making a tough call. We need a hero, and it's gonna be Surd. She comes in on an Earthquake, uses Sucker Punch for solid damage, and then I give my brave bird a noble salute. Except she lives? It seems like what happened here is that Cynthia saw a KO with both Dragon Rush and Flamethrower, so she chose a random move and then low-rolled her Flamethrower. Weird, but I'll take it. And you know what? Let's do this deathless. I go to Jupiter, my tankiest teammate, on a completely random move, and she eats up a nasty Dragon Rush. With an Earthquake coming, I can go to Cyrus, but Garchomp is still out of natural gift range. So I need just a bit more damage for the KO, but not too much or I'll pop the beast's Citrus Berry. So Cyrus U-turns, and Garchomp falls into the yellow. Not good, because as Saturn comes in, Garchomp snacks down on his berry and he's back in the green. Then it's a Dragon Rush that I'm hoping will miss, but it doesn't miss. And worse than that, it crits. So here, in the final fight, for the very first time, we've lost a member of the team. Saturn, once Jupiter, our timid Toxicroak, is gone. But as Cynthia said in the Distortion world, there can be no joy without suffering. So now, let's go get our joy. Mars comes in for a fake out and a U-turn, which means Garchomp is now officially in natural gift range. But going Cyrus here isn't totally riskless. I'm hoping I'm baiting Earthquake because a repeat Dragon Rush crit could tank the run right here. Turns out it is a Dragon Rush, but Saturn smiles down on us from above, and Garchomp misses. Cyrus finally gets to click Natural Gift, and Cynthia's beast of an ace falls. So next in, Lucario. The plan here was to go to Charin, but thanks to Cyrus's flying typing, we're baiting Stone Edge and taking super effective damage. Luckily, Cyrus doesn't have to be a flying type. I can stall out Stone Edge with my Roosts just like we did against Bertha's Hippowdon. The only risk here is actually if Lucario misses when we're at full HP, since then we wouldn't be able to Roost to drop our Rock-type weakness. Thankfully, that doesn't happen. In fact, we get incredibly lucky when Stone Edge crits us on one turn, meaning that when it misses on the next, we're not at full HP. From there, we just stall out the remaining Stone Edge PP and U-turn out, expecting to go to Charin on a Shadow Ball. But right before I bring him in, I realize another mistake. And this time I don't need a visit from some crusty old dude to do so.
I'm still here, you know!
With no Stone Edges left, Lucario is using a random move between Shadow Ball and Aura Sphere, which means that bringing in Charin is far too risky. So I course correct mid U-turn to Skuntank on a Shadow Ball, which means I could have just ended things right there, but now I've got to go the long way round, which in this case just means going back into Cyrus and clicking Fly. And hey, if you thought that Cynthia would never be so dumb as to click Aura Sphere into a 4x resist, look at her going for it here, not once, not twice, but 3 times in a row. Girl, you deserve to be dethroned. And that's what's about to happen, because as Cyrus takes out Lucario, there's only one Pokemon left, Roserade. My bestie has ended his fair share of Roserades throughout this playthrough, but thanks to our natural gift ploy, he's lacking his trusty wide lens, meaning there's a 5% chance that he'd lose his life. And after all that we've been through, I cannot let that happen. Forget the chopped 27-year-old, this Cyrus is the true bearer of that name. So I go into Charon on an extra sensory and click Flamethrower one last time for the KO, winning us not just the battle against Cynthia, but the entire run. We've done it. We've become champion with nothing but Team Galactic Pokemon. And as I take my rightful place in the Hall of Fame, the real work begins. To change this world, one so often led by those who seek to monger fear and profit from hatred, into one that rewards kindness and compassion above all else. Team Galactic may have been wrong about so much, but they were right about one thing. It's our job to change this world for the better. And it all starts with dope-ass haircuts for everyone. As always, thanks so much for watching. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel, or don't, but stay tuned for more Nuzlocke content. And until then, remember to always, always, always play around the critical hit.